She gave them a home when they had no one. 2 decades later, they came back carrying something she never saw coming. Maggie's house stood at the edge of a quiet neighborhood, its porch sagging with age, but its walls full of laughter and scraped knees. 20 years ago, she had taken in 5 kids, none of them hers, all of them broken in their own way. She was a cafeteria worker with calloused hands and a paycheck that barely stretched past Tuesday. But what she lacked in money, she made up for in love, grit, and a stubborn kind of hope. Each child came to her with different ghosts. Mia wouldn't speak for the first month. Chris got into fights almost daily. Twins, Aaron and Lily, cried every night until they passed out. And little Jordan, the youngest, had night terrors so bad he used to fall asleep sitting up. Maggie never flinched. She cooked from scratch, worked double shifts, mended old clothes, and read bedtime stories by flashlight when the power went out. She never dated, never went on vacation, and never once complained, not even when she had to sell her wedding ring to fix the heater one winter. The kids grew up, slowly healing under her care. There were bad years, of course. Court visits, broken windows, the time Mia ran away for 3 days. But Maggie held on. When the last one moved out, Maggie didn't throw a party or hang up her apron. She just kept living quietly. Volunteered at the church, took in a stray cat, waited for the occasional call or holiday card. Years passed. Birthdays came and went. Sometimes she'd hear from one of them, sometimes not. But on a warm fall afternoon, Maggie heard a knock at the door. When she opened it, all 5 of them stood there. Grown, different, and yet exactly the same. They were smiling, and each of them held a box. Maggie's hand flew to her mouth. She blinked as if she were seeing ghosts, then pulled them all in at once, her arms barely reaching around them. Chris laughed. "Still squeezing ribs like you're breaking up a fight." Mia wiped her eyes. "Still smells like chili and fabric softener in here." They filled the living room like they never left. Aaron sat in his old spot on the floor. Lily leaned against the couch, tapping her fingers like she used to when she was nervous. Jordan hovered near the bookshelf, pretending not to be emotional, but his eyes were red. Maggie watched them all, her voice trembling. "Why now? What's going on?" Chris glanced at the others. "We've been planning this for months." Lily opened the first box. Inside was a thick stack of papers, clipped neatly. "We started a nonprofit," she said. "We called it the Porchlight Fund, after your porch light, because it was always on for us." Aaron added, "It helps kids who age out of foster care, apartments, mentors, jobs, real chances." Maggie covered her mouth again. Her knees wobbled, and Mia gently guided her to sit. "You always said the world forgets those kids," Mia said, kneeling in front of her. "So we decided not to forget." Jordan handed her a small wooden box, the second one. Inside was a key, a real one. "To a house," he said. "Bigger, warmer, no leaky pipes. We bought it together. It's yours now." Maggie was speechless. She looked around at their faces, each of them scarred by life, but steady, full of something she always prayed they'd find. "You didn't have to do this," she whispered. "But you did," Aaron said, "when no one else would." Chris reached for the final box and placed it in her lap. "There's one more thing." Maggie opened it slowly and gasped. Inside was a framed certificate, official, embossed, the Maggie Green Center for Youth and Resilience. "We bought the old rec center on Hillside," Mia explained, "renovated it, named it after you. It opens next week." Maggie's hands trembled around the frame. All those years of late-night worrying, of going without, of wondering if she'd made any difference. It all came flooding back, heavy and overwhelming. "I just wanted you to feel loved," she whispered. You made us feel safe, Jordan said. That was more than love. That was everything. And for the first time in years, Maggie cried. Not the quiet tears she let fall behind closed doors, but deep, trembling sobs. Because the family she built had returned. And they came carrying the proof that everything she gave had grown. The next morning, Maggie stood on the porch of the new house they'd given her. The air smelled like dew and fresh paint. It had wide steps, a red mailbox, and, her favorite part, a wraparound porch with room for everyone. She ran her fingers along the railing, heart full and sore in the best way. Inside, the kids had set up photos from the old house. One wall was covered in framed snapshots, birthday cakes, first days of school, muddy shoes on the porch. At the center was a photo none of them remembered taking. Maggie asleep on the couch, all 5 of them piled around her like puppies. Even then, she was holding everything together. That weekend, they took her to the grand opening of the Maggie Green Center. The moment she walked through the doors, the crowd burst into applause. Dozens of young adults stood there, volunteers and staff too, all clapping. Some of the foster kids she'd never met stepped forward to thank her like they already knew her. A teenage girl with tear-streaked cheeks said, "They told me this place exists because of someone who never gave up. Thank you for being that someone." Maggie squeezed her hand and said softly, "Just promise to keep the porch light on for the next kid." Every hallway was painted with color. There were tutoring rooms, a kitchen that smelled like cookies, and a small library stocked with donated books. They even built a garden out back, named Mama G's Corner. As the speeches wrapped up, Chris stepped to the microphone. "She's not famous. She's not rich. She didn't go viral, but she's the reason 5 kids became who they are today." Then he turned and looked at her. "You taught us what family really means. So this place, it's yours. And every kid who walks through these doors, they're yours too." The crowd rose in a standing ovation, but Maggie couldn't move. She just stood there, heart wide open, hands shaking. All those years of quiet sacrifice when no one noticed. Now the world saw it, and they saw her. That night, back in her new home, Maggie sat at the kitchen table alone. The house was quiet, but not empty. It held warmth in its walls. She sipped tea from her chipped old mug, the one Jordan had once dropped and glued back together with too much love and not enough glue. Her phone buzzed. A group message from the 5 of them. "Chris. You okay, Ma? Need anything?" Mia. "Just checking if you're crying again." Lily. "We left you dinner in the fridge. Don't microwave the salad." Jordan. "House look good in the morning light? Porch lights still work?" Aaron. "Love you, old lady. Get some sleep." Maggie smiled, wiped a tear, and typed, "Still crying, still full, still proud. Love you more." She turned off the light and walked into the living room where the fire crackled softly. The photo wall caught her eye again, and this time she noticed a small frame tucked near the corner. A handwritten note in Aaron's clumsy script. "We were never orphans. We were always yours." She pressed her hand to the glass, then pulled her old knit blanket around her shoulders. As she sank into the couch, she felt something she hadn't felt in decades. Rest. Not the kind you take when you're tired. The kind you earn. Because love like hers never came back empty. It came back as family, as legacy, as home.